Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, for the episode of Bullet Points this morning, we are going to look at an article of the Washington Examiner. Now, the reason I'm bringing this to you this morning is because it highlights something really important around the pending Supreme Court case, the New York Rifle State versus Bruin, that case. What's really important, and by the way, if you're not familiar with it and one of the newer subscribers, it's linked in the description box below so you guys can get caught up. But for those of you who are familiar with it, you guys know that this could be a landmark case. But the reason why it's so important, and it's laid out really well in this article, is this is how we pull at the thread of the gun control sweater. Eventually, it will go away because they go too far in their infringements. Their virtue signaling desires and their utopian ideals completely conflict with the actual confines that the Second Amendment and the Constitution puts on them. And that's why we're winning. Slowly but surely, we are going to win this, as long as we fight on a state and federal level. Now, everything is linked in the description box below for your review. I want to hear from you guys on this one, because this is really important to lay out how big this decision is going to be, which we're going to get between April and June. This is really soon. It's knocking on the door. Now, I'm going to do a quick read from our returning sponsor, SDI, and then we're going to hit it on the other side. Have you ever thought about making a living in the firearms industry? If you enjoy gun repair, ballistics, and learning about firearms, Sonoran Desert Institute might just be a good fit for you. To find out more about SDI, visit sdi.edu or click the link in the description box below. And thank you again and welcome back to SDI for sponsoring this week's videos. But now, let's check this out. I want to show you what I'm talking about, what they're putting in the Washington Examiner, okay? So here's the article we're talking about. Supreme Court decision on New York gun permit law could lead to more cases. And that's what we said right when it was first initially introduced, right? This is a really big deal because it stacks right on top of Heller. It's like the public version of Heller, okay? The Supreme Court will soon make a decision in a case over whether New Yorkers have the right to carry concealed handguns in public for self-defense, which could prompt the High Court to examine other Second Amendment cases in the lower court pipeline, according to a high-profile lawyer representing plaintiffs in the Empire State. Now, that's the important piece, that second part. It could prompt the High Court to examine other Second Amendment cases. They're going to lay out these cases right now, what this could mean. Because again, what the leftist gun controllers do is unconstitutional. The Constitution is there, the confines, to prevent them from superseding our rights, which are enshrined in the Bill of Rights. But they continue to nip and nibble at the edges, which is why they get caught. Because again, their ideals and their virtue signaling overstep their bounds, which is why they get the little, that's what happens. All right. If the court sides with the plaintiffs, it is, quote, quite possible it could spur justices to tackle cases over restrictions on high-capacity magazines in California, New Jersey, and now Washington State. Clement said on Wednesday during a closed-member briefing before the House Republican Future of American Freedoms Task Force and viewed by the Washington Examiner. Quote, it's quite possible that if we win in the New York carry case, that a bunch of these cases are being held by the Supreme Court, awaiting their decision will be sent back to the lower courts. But if the lower courts don't get the message this time around, then I think that they'll be the next issue up for the Supreme Court, Clement said. So essentially, what this guy is saying is there's a bunch of Supreme Court, or basically pending litigation, in the hopper, so to speak. If the Supreme Court comes down and says, hey, New York, you can't do this, they send all those other cases back to the lower courts and say, hey, we've made a ruling, do your thing. If they still, quote, don't get the message, it goes right back to the Supreme Court. That's the whole point. It's a power struggle, essentially. So if these leftist judges in some of these circuit areas and some of these districts say, no, it's still constitutional, and the Supreme Court goes, it's going to go right back again because the inferior courts are not listening. This is why it's so important to have a full Supreme Court and have the right president at the right time to appoint the right justices. Now, let's keep going. On Tuesday, the National Rifle Association's Institute for Legislative Action filed a petition to the Supreme Court challenging California's ban on magazines capable of holding more than 10 rounds. The petition mirrors a similar case challenged last year against New Jersey's magazine statute in a case still pending before the Supreme Court. So that's what this guy's talking about. This whole case has incredible implications for the last 15 years of gun control moves and energy. This is big, guys. Quote, whether the decision leaves an opening for New York to enact a revised proper cause standard or some different law would depend on how the decision is written. That's why this is so important. We need it to be in our favor and then written correctly, because if it's not written correctly, it's going to suck. Okay. Adding that if the court rules against the New York law, quote, the burden will likely be on the state to pass a new law that the state believes is consistent with a court's decision. Now, this is going to trickle down to every other gun control state. You've got Washington State, you've got California, you have Illinois, you have New York. All of these gun control states, Vermont, all of them will have to rewrite laws because they were all modeled after laws they saw in California and New York. See how incredibly important this web is to unweave. But slowly but surely, we're going to pull on that string, and that sweater is going to become nothing. And before you know it, they ain't going to have much to hang their hat on. That's what I've got for you guys this morning. Let me know what you think in the comments field below, and I will see you tonight at the 9 p.m. segment. I'm Braden. See you later.